That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, even though if y'all saw this announcement in the last video, I really want to just kind of repeat myself for anybody who did not watch the last video. Guys, I really want to thank everyone who has been able to subscribe to the channel, like the videos, watch the videos, and especially the people who lately have been going out there and donating to support the channel in the live streams that we do every single night. With these donations, I was actually able to go out there, pay for a program to get on my laptop that I was able to upgrade the quality of these videos for y'all by including pictures of the players that I'm talking about on the screen. At the same time, I actually went out there and also ordered a better webcam to make these videos and a live stream with. So I mean guys, y'all are going out there donating to the channel and it's really going to help improve. Hopefully tomorrow y'all are able to go out here and actually see what the new webcam looks like. I should be able to actually stream with it on Saturday night. I am recording this on Friday night, so yeah, it just don't really know when it's going to come in, but we are streaming on Saturday night. Hopefully we have the new webcam. And yeah, it's because of y'all. Really appreciate, and I really am thankful for everything that y'all have done for this channel. But now let's get into this video and let's talk about 3 guys that I think that you should go out there and try to trade for before week 2 kicks off. All 3 of these guys are wide receivers. All 3 of them flashed not necessarily ability in week 1, because we know that 2 of them have the ability, but what we wanted to see is we wanted to see their roles on that they were going to play on their own offenses, and I think all our questions were answered. And let's start it off with our first wide receiver in Allen Robinson. Yes, now I know earlier on in the week I was saying that I'm really uncomfortable with where Allen Robinson is sitting with the Chicago Bears situation, but the more that I've looked into it, the more that I've heard about it, I think I was really overreacting. We did not necessarily know why Allen Robinson said that he was open to be traded away from the Chicago Bears. We didn't know why he went out there and deleted everything off of his social media that was involved with the Chicago Bears. But later on, it came out that it's over a contract, and not only is it only over a contract, but at the same time, his teammates are backing him up against the front office. So I think that we actually see a deal get done between Chicago and Allen Robinson sooner rather than later. Until then, I mean, it's not like Allen Robinson is sitting out games. He's still going out there and producing. And if he has his teammates behind his back, I mean, that's all we really need to know. And what is also extremely important about going out there and buying Allen Robinson is, one, we saw Mitchell Trubisky possibly play his best game of football ever at the NFL level in week 1. So it's a possibility that Trubisky actually takes a step forward in 2020, while it is unlikely. But regardless, Allen Robinson was actually still the guy to go out there and get the majority of the targets. He was still the guy to go out there and get the majority of the air yards. But we know with football, it's such a small sample, and really it's so volatile week to week, that just because Allen Robinson wasn't the guy that came down with the long receptions, came down with the touchdown passes, it does not mean that he's not going to be that guy going forward. And if he's getting that opportunity, if he's going to lead this team in both air yards and targets, if you don't know what air yards are real quick, let me give a quick aside. Air yards are the yards that are all added up from where a wide receiver is targeted on the football field. So if Allen Robinson goes out there, runs a 20-yard streak, Mitchell Trubisky kind of airs it over his head, Allen Robinson is accredited with 20 air yards, and this actually has great correlation to future fantasy success. So it's extremely important to track and see what wide receivers on the team are collecting these air yards and targets. And Allen Robinson was the guy that was getting that on the Chicago Bears. Even if Trubisky is bad like we've seen him be in years past, I mean, this team does have a backup plan with Nick Foles, so maybe he could come in and salvage whatever value Allen Robinson has. But regardless, I look at Allen Robinson in the role that he has in the Chicago Bears offense. I think that I believe he put up 12 points in week 1, and I think that's the floor of what we can expect week to week with a wide receiver that has the upside of dropping a 25-point week any given part of the year. So go out there, go try to buy Allen Robinson if people are kind of questioning his role on this offense, especially with the trade rumors and how well Anthony Miller performed in week 1. Now, our next wide receiver is in a situation very similar to Allen Robinson, not necessarily fighting with the front office, not looking for a trade, but in terms of not necessarily matching his on-the-field production and fantasy points with what he was intended to really get in week 1, and this is Terry McLaurin. So Terry McLaurin is another wide receiver that looks just like Allen Robinson, just like DJ Chark. I mean, they are all alpha wide receivers on their own respective offenses, yet not necessarily any of them went out there and performed extremely well in week one. I think that this is just a volatility thing. I know we see this every single year in football. Some people overreact at the wrong things and underreact at the others. I mean, I think that we should overreact in terms of who they are getting targets and who are they getting carries to. But in terms of who's translating these carries and targets to yards and touchdowns, in week one, it's just way too much of an overreaction if you read too much into that. I think that we should be more so paying attention to the roles that these players have on their offenses. And Terry McLaurin solidified that in week one. I mean, he is just the alpha target hog in Washington, and there's nothing that's going to happen to stop that. I know that Dwayne Haskins looked pretty bad. They did come out with the win, but regardless, Dwayne Haskins is a quarterback that I believe that was probably his 8th or 9th start in the NFL. So I think that he is a guy that has room to kind of progress. Terry McLaurin is also only a player that's going into his 2nd year. So maybe he can take a small step forward. And if he does get improved quarterback play, he continues to get the amount of targets and the amount of air yards that he saw in week one. I think that this is a player that can go out there if he puts it all together and if it all aligns. He can be a wide receiver 1 like we've seen him be in weeks past. And I think that really his down performance in week one is just not necessarily indicative of what we can expect the entire 2020 season. So go out there, go try to trade for Terry McLaurin. I think that he's a guy that you may be able to get for a decent value. Lastly, a player that may not be on your radar and he may not necessarily jump off the page in week 2. I am telling y'all, everywhere you have him, plug him in your flex spot if you can. I mean, obviously, if you play in like an 8-man league, it's going to be harder to fit him in there. But this is a player you need on your roster, in your starting lineup in week 2, and this is CeeDee Lamb. Now, this is the number 1 guy that you have to, it's timely. I mean, you're not going to have very long to go out there and wait to trade for CeeDee Lamb because in week 2, he gets the Atlanta Falcons, and we know that the Atlanta Falcons have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and CeeDee Lamb already demonstrated in week 1, a week that we did not necessarily think that these rookie wide receivers were going to be able to make an impact due to the fact that there was no preseason, there was a limited training camp. I mean, the rookies in years past have gotten to spend a ton of more time with their quarterbacks and with their offensive coaches than they did in 2020. So, I mean, I was generally avoiding at least starting the rookie wide receivers in week 1. But CeeDee Lamb comes out, actually almost outperforms Michael Gallup, and really shows that he has a solidified role on this offense in day 1. And then on top of that, we see a Blake Jarwin injury, and this is something that I don't see anyone talking about. I've been saying it all week, but Blake Jarwin going down, that opens up targets for guys like Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. They are not going to be getting the same amount of targets to Dalton Schultz, the backup tight end in Dallas, than they were planning to go to Blake Jarwin. So the one answer with where these targets are going to go is they were going to run more 11 personnel, and they were going to look to throw more towards that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 on their roster. And CeeDee Lamb, just my wide receiver 1 coming into the NFL draft, clearly has the talent, and all he needs is the opportunity. And I think that the stars are aligning in this one situation where it's going to be a shootout in week 2. CeeDee Lamb can see opportunity, and we know with the talent that he has, he's most likely going to be efficient with that opportunity, turn those targets into receptions, turn those receptions into yards, turn those yards into touchdowns. So this is a priority trade target. We have to go out there. We have to aggressively put out offers for CeeDee Lamb. Don't necessarily just DM the owner in your league saying, hey man, I want CeeDee Lamb. What do you want for my team? I mean, just go out there, make an offer that he can't say no for, because it may look like you're overpaying right now in week 2. But once we see that this rookie wide receiver goes out there, puts up 15 to 20 points in week 2, sees his role increase possibly past a guy like Michael Gallup's, and then sees that he's going to be getting targets down the stretch in 2020, especially if he can come on later in the year where he can be an impact player for you during the fantasy playoffs. I mean, he's a guy that you do not want on your opponent's roster. You have to have him on your own. Now, thanks guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed the video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if you did, please make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe, And I just want to thank y'all one more time for all the great support y'all have showed on these videos. Guys, it really means a ton, and I really appreciate it.
That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.